Hey everybody, Stippling Vaughn. I'm here at my bar and I got served. Yes, Danny is here, so I got served right off the bat as soon as I got here. We had a nice laugh about yesterday. I told him about how when I first got here yesterday, and he goes, "Oh, you had to deal with Al." I'm like, "Yeah," which is funny because, like I said to you guys, when I first got here yesterday, Al was right on. He was sitting at the bar and he was like, "Can't serve you." I'm like, "No bartender?" He's like, "They're not here yet. There's a mix-up." I knew this was going to happen. They were all talking. They couldn't decide. They're like, "Oh, I'll be here, and blah, 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 blah," and no one's here. So it was actually funny because, like, I was sitting here and I was doing my video and I could hear the the old guys, the old daily guys who were here first thing in the morning, who talked to Al. And I heard him saying, "I can't serve you, da 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 da." And they were sitting there talking. Next thing I know, I could hear the coolers on behind the bar. I could hear them opening and closing. And I'm like, he's serving those guys. And sure enough, after the video was done, he was like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I'll take my usual cherry Coke." And he's like, Pepsi, grenadine. He goes, "You want grenadine or do you want cherry sauce?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll take cherry sauce if you got any." "Yeah, I got cherry sauce. Of course I got cherry sauce. I'll give you some cherry sauce." So I got my drink. But it was funny. Just to let you guys know right off the bat, I'm going to be playing with my nibs. This nib, here, okay, I'm going to press down. See how, you can't really see it, but maybe you can see it now. See how when I press down, it really splits apart? When it really splits apart like that, that's when the nib's getting towards the end of its run. And when a nib gets like that, what I do is, you can see, okay, here's the dots I play down. Now I flip the nib over, so I'm using it upside down. And see how I'm still getting dots, but I'm getting very, very fine dots. Okay, so this nib, I can still use this nib. It's just that I can only use this nib if I'm doing the really fine stuff like I'm doing in here with the shadowing of his arm underneath the cloak. So it's working, but don't be surprised if I set it down, I clean this nib off, and then I've got two other nibs here I'm going to work with and see what type of condition they're in before I outright swap one of them out for a brand new nib. So that's the reason why I have multiple nibs on me, and why any artist would have multiple nibs, multiple brushes, is because you can have two brushes that are exactly the same, but if one's brand new, it lays the ink down one way, and if you have a really old brush, it'll lay the ink down another way. And that's where you, over time, from experience, you discover that, and that's where you then learn how to, like, okay, if I want this effect, I gotta use this brush. If I want this effect, I'm gonna need to use this brush. So, but yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know that we'll be stopping momentarily throughout this video to swap out my nibs. Now, the other thing also is that when I was working on this, afterwards I was working on these guys here, down here. I did her last week and I forgot to post the video. I did this one yesterday and I did not post that one. So when I get done with this video, I'm going to be posting the time-lapse video working on Mira. Then I will be shooting the video for doing Effie, the robot. And after I've done that, like tomorrow, if I remember, I will post the video of Jim, the Star Killer kid. And anybody who knows Star Killer, that was the original, George Lucas, that was the original name for Luke Skywalker. Instead of Skywalker, it was going to be Star Killer, but he changed it, which I think was for the better. He wanted more of a peaceful, heroic, like a good guy name instead of Star Killer. That's a bad guy name. So I'm glad he did. So, but then I also like how Star Wars, when they were doing the comic books, they then decided to they decided to include, knowing that stuff about Star Wars, to include it in the Marvel comics. So, but yeah, I was not on the chat last night. The chat, we were doing the book review of Cable, Newer Mutants by John Malin. I kind of wanted to be on it because, believe it or not, even though I've been saying some like negative things about John Malin over the last 6 months, or over this last year, however you want to document my remarks with my videos and on the chat, I really had positive things to say about John's artwork in the Newer Mutants. For starters, I thought it was great with the cast that he got to play with. The characters he got to play with was great. If I had gotten a chance to work on the X-Men, to get a chance to work with those characters, I've been like, yes, these are the characters I want. No, I don't want Storm, I don't want Cyclops, I don't want Wolverine. Let me have these characters, yeah. And part of the reason why I like the more obscure characters is you have a greater chance of leaving your mark on those characters as opposed to working with a Batman or Superman, because they've got such a legacy behind them that you're obligated. Now, granted, I am a purist, so therefore in the comic book industry or the comic book field or as a fan, I don't like my characters being stepped on. I don't like when they retcon the history of a character and completely like spit on the lineage of that character. So you can't really do that. So you're obligated to make Cyclops a certain way, to draw and give Colossus a certain look and feel to him with his past lineage of how all the other creators who did him correctly, you're obligated to do the same thing. So what I think, so for me at least, I thought John Malin getting those characters to play with, I was like, oh, John, you won the Mega Bucks lottery by getting those characters to play with. So I really I did want to be on it, but Miss Stippling was wanting to go to Kozer's Christmas Village up by Leesport, Pennsylvania, and it looks, from what they show on the website, it looks really interesting. You drive there and then you park at a certain location, and then you go into the town. And they got the whole town decorated with Christmas, and they said it takes about an hour to an hour and a half to walk through the whole town. And so we went up there, and when the shows for this chat started, we had already been waiting, parked in our car behind other cars in line about 4 miles away from the Christmas Village when the show started at 7 o'clock. So we'd already been waiting. Actually, we'd already been waiting since 6. We'd been waiting for like an hour already in line, and it was just stop and go, bumper to bumper traffic. It reached the point where it's like you watch the line ahead of you. You know how the line on an old road, it goes down and up, and you're at the top of the hill, you can see all the way down all those lights, and then going up, and then at the very top of the hill it disappears, but you can see off in the distance there's another row, and all you see is red lights, so you can see how far you've got to go. So the chat kept me entertained during that whole time waiting in line, and we were waiting in line. I would say we were waiting in line for 3 hours before we were like, screw this, and left. And we left because it was like they state that they close at 10. Now they also state that they'll stay open as long as people are there, but your website says 10. People are saying that they stay open as long as people are there. We weren't going to wait there to finally get there and then see half the stores are already closing or this, that, and the other thing. So really, it really wasn't worth our time to continue to wait in line to see what was there. So we decided to go another time. We were going, even if we have to go like very early in the day and wait 2 hours for them to open up. Yeah, you see what I'm talking about, guys? I just put ink in this nib, and oh, look at that. Look how it spreads apart. This nib is dead. Yeah, that nib is dead, so that's another one down. But no, you guys kept us entertained. Miss Stippling joined the chat and introduced herself. She was actually using her federal name, and the chat very quickly were like, no, you don't give us your federal name. Create a nickname, and we've been calling you Miss Stippling for the last year now. So she changed her name, and so she's now in the chat as Miss Stippling. So thank you very much, specifically to Danger Vanessa and Snuggie for welcoming Miss Stippling to the chat and into the chat comments. So, but oh my God, you guys were killing me. I mean, she was like, if you would rewatch the chat and see her comments, yeah, she was like, yep. She was like, yep. When we get there, we're probably going to have to call an ambulance. He's dying. I was laughing so hard and so loud. It reached the point where she had to wind down the window because I was laughing so hard. And because, God damn it, Linkovich, you are killing me. Oh my gosh, it was. We had. Let's put it this way: the highlight of waiting those 3 hours was the chat entertaining us. So, thank you very much, guys. I really wanted to get in there and post photographs of me wearing my hat out in public for all of you guys to see. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but before the holiday season is out, I will be posting pictures on Twitter. X is going to get you. I will be posting pictures of me out in the wild wearing my hat for you guys to see. But yeah, we had a great time. You guys were the highlight, because it was really funny how we would just be sitting there waiting, and then you'd watch and like there'd be cars, and it was funny because we were like the top of the hill, and you could see how it looked like down at the bottom or cresting up the other side of the hill, it looked like cars were stopping and people were getting out, and we're like, what the hell is that? Like, well, when we get down there and we can look, we can see. Or on this side of the road, there was like a whole field of Douglas firs, and on this side there was like an outbuilding for a farm, like not a barn, but more like a kind of like a utility shed or an outbuilding. And it was so funny because like where the outbuilding was, it was dark, and I guess the building was shading from the headlights. People were doing Chinese fire drills, so they would stop, and the doors would open on either side, and most likely, okay, so the door would stop. The driver's door would open up. A guy would hop out, and he'd run around the car into the tree field. The woman would hop out of her side and run around to this side, and they'd shut the door. The doors would be shut. While he's peeing, she would inch the car along about half a car length, a full car length. He would run back, hop in, and they'd then go another car length. They'd open up the doors. He would run around to the driver's side. She would run over to the other side where it was nice and dark, and you knew what was happening. Everybody was peeing. So that made that when we hit that stretch, it was funny. And the thing was, we hit that point, and I'm sitting there, and I go, it's a good thing I didn't bring a bottle of water with me. I said, otherwise I would be out there amongst all those Douglas firs, standing in peeing, like everybody else. So it was like as long as it was a wait, as long as it was, and even though we were very disappointed that we weren't able to we were, even though we were very disappointed, we weren't able to get there. We still had a good time thanks to the chat. So thank you, Danger Vanessa. Thank you, Stat. Thank you, Amanda. You made what could have been a very boring, disappointing evening very entertaining. So thank you very much. And then on top of that, I think another nice thing was at the very beginning, before we started the book review, having to explain all the lineage of the X-Men and the Summers family to Amanda was very refreshing. And the reason why I say that is because Amanda, she did not grow up reading all these comic books like most of us. She's only reading them because we decide upon them with the Hillbilly Book Club. So she was like, well, what's? She didn't understand some of the characters. So having to provide that backstory of these characters was refreshing, and it really showed how, especially now these days with how these you do like a 4-issue series, a 4-issue arc of issues 8 through 12 or 8 through 15, and then it gets condensed, it gets put all together as a trade paperback, and how we and they rely on everybody knowing, the reader already knowing everything about all the characters and their past and their lineage. Whereas Amanda, she's like, I don't know who is this Cable character? Who's this Blink character? And it was very refreshing to have to explain that to her. And also it showed how, especially these days, because they're intentionally doing a 5-issue run or a 6-issue run or in a book, and let's say it's Superman, it's Superman's in like, or say Action Comics, it's up in the over 1,000 issues now. If you condense it into a book and someone picking it up for the very first time, they're not going to know the history of the character over the last 1,000 issues. So it does show that the industry, if they're going to go to this route of relying on sales from trade paperbacks, they've got to rely on providing the reader with even if you do like a 2-page recap of Superman or a 2-page recap of Cable, because he's the primary character in this, it's his book, it's called Cable. You got to put in that stuff so that way you're a brand new person picking up the book will be able to follow along. The perfect example I'll give to you guys for that is G.I. Joe issue 301. Okay? Issue 301 was the very first issue done by Skybound Image Comics. And what they did with the first like 2-3 pages, they gave you a brief recap of what G.I. Joe is, who Cobra is, and then gave you a quick synopsis. It was like a whole page. It was a whole page of like Duke, Wild Bill, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and then a brief description of each character underneath of that. So then you could go straight into the story, and a brand new reader doesn't have to worry about grabbing issues 280 through 299 done by IDW. They can pick up issue G.I. Joe, issue 301, and right off the bat, they're off and run into the races, understanding what's happened, and then they can follow along. So Amanda pointed that out, and I thought that was very refreshing. And remember when I'm always using top 10 as how well done that was. That by the end of the book, when we're introduced how Chemo, the dog, the cyborg dog, is now in a sexual relationship with the hooker, you're not disgusted by it. you're like, it's a natural progression of that relationship to become that. And I think that's really going forward. I think Marvel and DC need to address that, is how they need to acknowledge they need to have, even if you don't do that in the floppy format, when you do the floppies, get like Ivan Rias. Okay, I know Ivan Rias, you can't really use Ivan because you now go into a Ghost Machine or whatever it is, whatever the new line of books is, through Image, through Jeff Johns. Okay, but we'll use him as the example because I like him. Okay, have Ivan Rias do a 2-page prologue that you can put in every single Superbook, which explains Superman and his powers and his background, so then you can get the character. So right off the bat, the reader picking up a trade and picking up Superman for the very first time is now caught up to speed with that character, and then you can go straight into the story. Same thing goes with like explaining the primary characters, Lex Luthor, and Amanda was like that's how like throughout the book it was like referring to like they'd mention something and like they'd have a little like editor's note you got like to follow along, and she was like that was bothersome to her. And if you're going to do the trade paperback format, you can't be doing that anymore. So very excellent point made by Amanda. And it shows, and like I said, if you want to grow your business through the trades, you're going to have to do stuff. Otherwise, you're going to get people picking up one. Let's say it's the Court of Owls. If you don't, if the Court of Owls isn't explaining everything of Batman, they'll be reading it going, "This is supposed to be really good. It didn't really explain anything. How did Batman get to this point?" Now, granted, I'm using a bad example because it was they're rebooting the Batman title, but you get what I'm saying, okay? So, and again, even with the reboot, they're still relying on you knowing everything about Batman to continue this, to fill in the gaps that they weren't explaining. So, but hey, this is almost already at 20 minutes. I had a great time talking to you guys about this. Please remember to find some crowdfunded books and help some creators out. Remember, Billy Tucci's doing his 30th anniversary. Remember, Billy's is Doritos. If you don't know what Doritos is, please check out my past videos. Check out my unboxing video of Billy Tucci's Senorita and Andy Smith's Core Draft, so you can get caught up on what I mean by Doritos. So, but hey, I'm going to get back to work here. I'm definitely going to be swapping out to my nibs with fresh nibs, so I can get back to work, just doing some of this darker stuff, so that way not everything's so light dotted like this stuff. And like I said, when I get done, I'll be posting the time-lapse video of Miri. So until then, guys, remember, life is stressful, but just take it all one dot at a time.